Streaming live via the internet. Welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technology, providing ISP consulting support and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts, providing high-density, high-bandwidth radio products. Wireless, Advanced LLC, providing retail and wholesale advanced communication services by matching providers with your bandwidth needs. And by Sitel, providing reliability in surge suppression. And now your host for ISP Radio, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgess.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of ISP Radio. As you know, we're still playing with the wonderful, beautiful YouTube streaming. It's going to be a little bit before we get everything worked out, all that kind of good stuff, but it's definitely coming along, and we hope everybody enjoys our live streams. Today, Steve is out for part of the day. Hopefully, he'll be in here shortly. But we're going to start today talking about hotspots and creating revenue with them. Beforehand, what's going on in the industry? What kind of news do we have going on out there? Well, the big thing was that the FCC just released the new TV white space rules. For those of you that don't know that, they released that. You, of course, can visit the FCC website. Also, it was posted on the WISPA members list. If you are a WISPA member, you ought to take a look at that. All of that good information in there. There's a number of little key points. Looks like we can do channel bonding. We can do some adjacent channel usages. They're not going to be upping the AGL or the HAAT limits. It doesn't look like. And they've changed some of the database rechecks, things like that. So, of course, the WISPA FCC attorney, Steve Coran, has posted a little brief summary of what's going on with that. Again, this is on the WISPA member list, so you might want to make sure you check that out to keep up to date. For those of you that have not filed Form 477, by the way, as a fixed wireless operator, you are required to file Form 477. You need to get that done. I believe September 1st is the end date or the submission date that you need to get that done by. Now, let's talk about that real quick because it's very important to know what's going on with that and how you need to do it. There's really two main sections that most fixed wireless operators are going to need to worry about. The very first one's pretty simple: fixed broadband subscribers. This is a listing of your current customers, the max speed of a customer, of all your customers inside a census tract. Is it business? Is it residential? That type of information. They really don't want names and addresses. They don't want GPSs. What they want is in XYZ census tract, which is there's about 22,000 in the U.S. Of those XYZ census tract people, how many customers do you have in there? How many are broadband? How many are business? How many are consumer? And then on the business packages, what's the peak business package and what's the peak or max subscriber package or consumer package? That's about it. It's actually relatively simple. The last one, which is the hard one, is the broadband deployment data. This basically says, where do you cover and based on census blocks? Now, there's millions of census blocks inside the United States. So what they want to do is they want to say, in this census block, what is the maximum advertised speed that you offer? And then do you offer business, government, or residential or consumer-based services? That's about it. It's really straightforward and simple. So for those of you that don't know, TowerCoverage.com does offer a service that can take your TowerCoverage.com map, maybe your main coverage map, and convert that to get you your listing of your census blocks, which is sometimes pretty difficult because there are a lot of them. I believe one customer had over 44,000 census blocks that they covered. So you have to make sure that you have that information ready to go. Going back to WISPA information and WISPA news, we do have some new news on, I believe it is the WISPA Palooza show. Let's take a look here. WISPA Palooza, of course, coming up here in Yeek. It's coming quickly. It's in October 10th through the 17th. If you have not done so, make sure you sign up. You definitely need to get that done as quickly as possible. Very good information. Everybody, if you're in the fixed wireless industry for the most part, you really need to be at that show. Simple as that. Okay. That's coming up again, October 10th through 11th at the Rio in Las Vegas. I do believe they put up some more of the Wispapalooza agenda. A lot of that information and different sessions are up there already. They do not have the Fiber Weekend session up there, so take a look at that. The Wispapalooza main event goes from Tuesday, October 13th through the 15th. So you don't have to be there the whole weekend. And then the weekend prior to that, we have the Fiber Weekend as well. So really good information. You guys need to make sure you get there and take a look at that. There will be lots and lots of courses. There are also plenty of co-located training events before and after. I believe towercoverage.com is going to be doing a presentation there as well as Tower Coverage is bringing one of the initial creators of Tower Coverage, which is Roger Coudet, down. He is the author, longtime author of the application called Radio Mobile, and Tower Coverage being the commercialized in the higher end version of Radio Mobile. Roger will be at the booth this year in Wispapalooza. So if you have any questions, definitely a great guy to ask questions to, etc. Definitely something to take a look at from the Wispapalooza show. All right. With that said, let's go back to the big thing, which is the topic at hand, hotspots and ad revenue. So first off, let's really define hotspots. What is a hotspot? A lot of people don't know that a hotspot can be a number of things, but it's basically just internet access, or typically is internet access. It is a public access where you go and get internet at. If you go to Starbucks or many other restaurants, they may have a access point that you can connect to. And that access point may or may not say, welcome to Starbucks or welcome to whatever restaurant you're at, but you may connect to it and you may just get straight to the internet. And that's a really good thing. That's what you want. That is what a hotspot is. That's as simple as a hotspot possibly can be. The next thing we have is we have the splash page. And the splash page is the page, hey, you connect to the hotspot because the hotspot is open. Hey, thank you for visiting our restaurant or our hotel or whatever it may be. Click here to continue to the internet and accept the terms and conditions. No, you can't download porn. No, you can't download various illegal activities. But the ideal is that now you're promoting your product. Now, one of the big things with splash pages is those splash pages are valuable ad real estate. And I'm going to use an example of that is we have a hotel that has a local pizzeria right down the road. And the pizzeria delivers quite a bit to that hotel. Now, how does the hotel capitalize on that? Well, what we do is we put a splash page there, and then that hotel sells a monthly reoccurring ad to the pizza company that says, hey, they can open up our internet, and the very first thing they're going to see is, welcome to the hotel. And then they're going to see this ad, hey, get pizza delivered straight to your room in 15 minutes or less, or 20 minutes or less, or however quick it is. And click here and order online, or click here to get information to call. So the ideal here, at least for you anyway, is if you are going to sell those ad revenue, you're going to have a way to display it on your splash page, remove it easily, add it easily if needed, and then link it to their website so that people can actually get to it and use it. So this will be a good example of creating ad revenue for your network. Now, other businesses, and we get some of these other networks such as Muni Wi-Fi's, things like that, how they try to do or handling the cost add-ons on these is by adding that ad revenue. So if they put in a Muni Wi-Fi network downtown in a busy area, what they'll do is they'll deliver the splash page. And hey, if you want to be seen on that splash page, you can pay the city or whoever it is a little bit of money every month to have that ad. And guess what? It's usually within walking distance of wherever you're at. So again, that's another way to use those ad revenues. So now we have defined our hotspot. Okay. Your hotspot could also be paid access. Okay. So you could sit there and take a hotspot. Hey, welcome to such and such business. If you'd like to get access, please enter your credit card. Or another way is what we call voucher system. So what happens is you create hundreds of vouchers, and these are just basically usernames and passwords. Okay. You take that information and you give those cards or pamphlets or paper, whatever it may be, to the lobby. I've even seen vending machines with these things in it. And you go to the vending machine, you put some money in, and a card drops out, and you scratch off the card. Now you have a username and password that's good for 24 hours on the Wi-Fi. Okay. We get a lot of people, especially in a retail establishment or a hotel, what they'll do is they'll go, internet's expensive here, so you have to pay for it. Because of that, you can just come to the lobby, we'll add it onto your bill, and we give you a little card real quick or a little piece of paper with a username and password on it, good for that day. All right. You also have maybe the hotel lobby says, hey, we have so many other businesses and things around here. People are using our internet. So to prevent that, whenever you come in, we'll just give you a voucher. Real easy. You see what I'm saying? So the goal here, again, is to control access in such a way that people just don't get on for free. Or if they do get on for free, hey, that's fine. That's not a problem. But you want to have some type of controlled access that allows them to get online without much difficulty. So keep that in mind. I mean, keep in mind that a lot of people now have their smartphones. They can get 4G data, etc. If the business users, or if you're out where you can't get 4G data, those are really good locations. We also get lots of other locations where we get things like truckers that they want to stop in. They're going to spend the night there or spend the day there sleeping. They want to get online. They want to Skype with their family, friends, things like that, send some email. Again, all of these are the way that we need it, is things that people want. Okay. But you have to make sure we need to get that information out there. We need to make sure all that information gets going without a problem. Okay. So with that said, that is your basic hotspot. That's your basic system. Now, we, as in Link Technologies, use Microtech to do those hotspots. Now, again, that hotspot does not actually have to have hotspot services. Hotspot services is the capture and redirection of the user into the splash page, okay, into that welcome page. And I'm just going to grab a page here since we have this wonderful ability now. We can go ahead and see if we can put one of these up here. I got a couple splash pages here. Here's one of them. This one here is a splash page for a local airport when we did it. And this would be an example, hey, here's your ads. You have some ads. You have some other features, though. Here's your ability to register yourself, your weather app to find out where you're at, what's around me in that area. Lots of really great information here. And this is what we call an ad portal page. So it's a little bit better than just your basic splash page. Okay, it actually gives you quite a bit of information as well as data. So this is again a little bit more complicated, a little bit more slicker. But the big thing is it gives you that information for your end users. Now, another type of hotspot. It's still a hotspot, but what it does is it uses what we call social logins. So let me see if I can pull this one up here and bring it up. So what this one does is this one actually brings up a video that end users will have to see before they can even get into the hotspot system, before they can even log in. So they see this video here. And again, I turned down the sound so it's not blaring, but they get this little video ad and they can skip that ad. And now they can get right into the login page. Now, this is just like any other hotspot. Again, they can register themselves, okay, or they can sit there and log in. They have, in this case, we have the Around Me app, so they can find, airports, banks, gas stations, pharmacies, schools, all this kind of good stuff if they need this information, okay. All that information is great to find. They have the local weather in this particular case. But the big thing is they have this sign in or register with Facebook. Now, what this does is this allows them that you click on that, and it basically lets you log into your Facebook account, and it basically likes the dealership's webpage and says that you were there. So it posts on your page. But the big thing in this particular case is that we get the information, the cool information about the business, and the business gets that customer information and gets that like. So all that is really, really good information for many people. So we're going to actually get Steven on the line here. He's actually going to come on. Here he is. Steven, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. We are live, and we're just talking about hotspots and some splash pages and ad revenue using those hotspots. We actually got one of the splash pages we did for a company on the screen. So you may have to take a look at that. Actually, I'll share, make sure I send my screen over to you so you can see it. But these are the types of things that we've been doing recently by using these wonderful splash pages. And Stephen, I know you didn't see this, but what this is a splash page for a dealership. And whenever people come there, the very first thing they see is a YouTube video.
Right.
Which is a little ad of what's going on in that month, things like that. And once they see that, then they can skip that intro if they don't want to see it. But what's really neat about this one is that they have the social login. And this isn't for everybody. Like a hotel probably don't care about a social login, okay? But any type of company that has, especially retail establishment, food, that type of stuff, any type of restaurant, or other company that basically gets a following that people are always going back to. This is a really good example of using social engineering or social logins to, one, capture customer data, and two, advertise so that you basically say, hey, they were at this location at that time, and that's how they got their free internet. So basically they click here, they register with Facebook, and bam, they're online. Just like that. There's they don't have to pay for internet access or anything like that. They've paid with their like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and then of course we got, the weather. And then we also, in this particular case, we have the app that, hey, here's the nearby museums that you might want to go see, or nearby bus stations, or whatever banks, whatever you wish to find here. That information is also available without even logging in. So these are just two examples of splash pages that we've done in the past. Again, you can do paid access, you can do non-paid access, totally up to you. But these are all really good examples of high-end splash pages. Now, there's other information that you get in the background, and as a company that deals with all different types of, how do you make the hotspot? How do you manage it? I'm going to bring over this little system. This is what we call the HS Network Manager. And what this system is this is the system that delivers those splash pages. Okay. You get detailed statistics here on how much traffic went through, how many people went through, how many impressions were there, how many click-throughs were there, how many signups are there, all that kind of good stuff. We even get down to additional detail data, which is which web browsers are they using, which type of device are they using. So if we see a Mac of an iPad, or a Apple Mac, or a Toshiba Mac, or a Android phone Mac, you see what I'm saying? So we can even get more details like that. And then on the back end system, you also have the advertisements. Okay, so the example is, hey, here's how many click-throughs we had, here's how much we've sold, here's how many impressions we've seen. And then you can sit there and manage the entire ad campaign right from a click, point and click interface, if that makes sense. So we look at some of these and we may edit one here. Here it is. Here's your start and stop date. So you can set all this, how often, what's your link, what's your URL, what's your budget. There's just tons of information in here. You can create intros, you can create banners and put them in there, and it'll automatically rotate them for you. And let's say they paid for a month. Well, you can go into that general options and set an end date. So if they don't pay the next month, their ads are automatically turned off. Okay, so these are all good examples of using a system that can handle your hotspot, that can handle the users, that can handle the configuration. All that information is really, really good. And I'm just going to go into the templates here. That entire splash page I showed you, this entire one right here, is completely generated by the management. So you put your backgrounds in, you put your text in. Are you going to do social engineering? Are you going to have what logos are you going to have? What YouTube videos are you going to have if you want to have those? Which apps do you want? What text do you want? All that is maintained in the database So you don't have to go there and actually change a splash page, think HTML. You don't have to do that. It's all right in the system. So these are just, again, examples of the hotspot system that you can use, or a hotspot system that you can use. Now, this is the one that Link Technology sells, the HS Network Manager, but there are others out there as well, ranging from no upfront costs to a portion of your monthly proceeds, all the way up to, I've seen hotspot systems run $100,000. So it really depends on what your needs are and what your goal is in using those hotspot systems.
Is this something that you said this is something that LinkTex sells? Is this something that integrates well with Microtext Hotspot? I mean, would it replace User Manager?
The answer is yes, it would replace User Manager. It definitely has a lot more capabilities. It's not the cost of User Manager, which is, for those of you that don't know, free for the most part. It does do authorized.net now, so you can do all your payment gateway, all that kind of good stuff. It'll do your ad revenue. It can do ads if you want it to anyway. And it will give you a lot more detailed statistics in a much nicer interface. You can also use managers. Notice that there's a number of levels here. And inside these levels, we actually have the ability to assign users to each level. So you can actually say, hey, you could put one system in and then say, hey, we're going to add a system for this hotel, and the hotel needs to change their user every so often, so they can log in and see their stats and change their user or the login user if they want.
So this for the ISP could be one purchase that handles multiple hotspots that you sell, car dealerships, restaurants, what have you.
And because you're selling it as a subscription, it's a monthly reoccurring for most ISPs.
Mm-hmm.
All
okay.
Right. What's even worse, though, or what's even better, I should rephrase that. What's even better for the ISP is you buy it once. You still have to license it based on the number of networks. But once you buy it, you do not and are not obligated to purchase updates or things like that. So you can make one-time purchase and be done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They do have a yearly maintenance for software updates, version updates, bug fixes, that type of stuff. But that's a fraction of the software cost. So it's really not a bad way of going, if that makes sense to you.
Well, I mean, what if I have this car dealership or restaurant that wants to charge money for that instead of just getting the trading internet for their information?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Yeah. You can do the integration with authorized.net and PayPal for online payments.
Gotcha. Okay. How about IP Pay? Does it integrate with them?
It does not integrate with IP Pay.
Okay. And this is a product that LinkTex offers, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we basically we're the North American distributor for the HS Network Manager. And so far it's just been a bang up application. And what's really, it's kind of like Microtech, is that there's so many options. It kind of takes you a little bit to understand how many options you have, if that makes sense. But once you get in there and do it, I'm going to show you how much this thing integrates with Microtech. And not to replace myself or anything like that, but I'm going to scroll down here and look at this stuff. Do we want to use wireless? What is the SSID? Do we want to add Ethernet to the gateway bridge? What's our WAN connection? Is it a DHCP or static? What's the IP addressing for the hotspot? Is there a VPN to get back to the network manager? How often to check for walled garden updates with the network manager? Set admin password, any type of custom configurations. Do we want to import some users or anything? Notice import Microtech user manager users generated by printers for external links or external tools. So you can do that. You put all this information in here and you get this gateway config file. Okay. And I'm going to show you this because it's really, really cool here. Let me grab this file and show you. But as soon as I find out where I saved it. But what it literally gives you is it gives you a where the heck did it go? Of course, I saved it to my desktop, and now I have to find it. It literally gives you a file. Here it is, I think. Nope, that's not it. It gives you a file, and it gives you the hotspot folder for you to upload. I guess I have to download it again. it gives you the hotspot folder to oh, it's there. I just didn't see the name of it. Oh, that's why. Keep. Here we go. So I'm opening this and I'm going to slide it over here. So what it gives you your hotspot folder. So this is the folder, the HTML code that you need, that it redirects it to itself so that all the users get the splash page. Okay. And then it even gives you a router OS configuration script that if you just had like a 951 or a single box or something like that, that you could basically drop in and it would configure it for setup of the gateway to the network manager.
And this, the HS system here is the network manager?
Yeah, that's the network manager. So
Gotcha.
think of this as this replaces the user manager software with Microtech, but it still uses Microtech to control the access.
Mm-hmm. Now, an idea out there, say someone goes to a restaurant and they sign up, can you create like coupons so that people could print one out and then take it to
yeah, that would. So what that is that's what they call tickets. I'm sorry, vouchers. I actually talked about that a little bit earlier, and the answer is yes. You can create a voucher. You can create vouchers.
And then say like the car dealership has something, and while the people wait, they could print up a voucher to take it over to the restaurant to get a discount.
Yeah, yeah. Like basically, usually with the vouchers, you usually get basically free internet with the voucher, if that makes sense. So. And you still get all the statistical data, you know, how many people, how many vouchers were used, how much data was moved, how many users, how many click-throughs, all that kind of good stuff. But, you know, you still get all that. But the vouchers just, usually the voucher just says the username password to log in with. So in other words, they come to this page and they type in, you know, a username password and they're online. So those would be the examples in those particular cases.
Gotcha, of a voucher for internet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess you could create an HTML file with a coupon that the person could go next door with while their car is being worked on to get lunch and take it to that.
Oh yeah.
That restaurant.
Yeah, you can. It's just that's just a voucher is all it is. Yeah.
Vouchers just for the internet access, right?
Correct.
Right.
I mean, if they wanted to, I mean, I've seen a car dealership. I guess you could give them a voucher and say, yes, it's for internet access, but you could also work something out with the car dealer, or I'm sorry, with the restaurant across the street that says, hey, if we give them one of these vouchers, if they bring them over, you know, give them $10 off, and we'll pay for it.
Right.
Or something like that. I could see that occurring.
Yeah, pretty cool. Much more functional than the Microtech user manager.
Yeah, I mean, the user manager system, it definitely works. It's just not slick. Does that make sense? You know, there's definitely, you could definitely have a much slicker system. And that's where all the money comes in usually is the slicker systems. But this one actually is quite good. It works very well for what it is. And it's not, it won't break the bank. It's not inexpensive, but it's definitely not expensive.
So me as an ISP, I buy the system once and say I convince the car dealership to buy it. I would buy one license for them.
Yeah, basically you would buy it's all based on licensing. Okay. And all that pricing is on linktext.net, but the short and skinny of it here, give me a sec. If you get the portal system, which is the nice web pages, most people are going to get that. Level 1 is a single network. Okay. And then, let's just say that's just over $1,000, which is like 1024. Okay. And then if you want to move up to 5 networks, that adds additional $290, and you can upgrade anytime you want. Okay. So now, you know, you might start with, you know, $1,300 gets you the network manager with 5 networks. Now you can hook up 5 networks. Yeah, you paid $1,300, but there's no additional cost unless you want the updates. Okay. And you can sell it. You can sell it to 5 different companies if you want to, and you'll get monthly reoccurring revenue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You help them set it up. You provide them bandwidth. You know, this is kind of the nifty part, especially as an ISP or a WISP. You have the ability to, hey, 1, they're going to buy bandwidth from you. Okay. 2, they're going to buy the manager system from you to manage the system. in whichever way fashion they want. 3, they need to help pay. They're going to pay you either in that management dollar amount or in the initial setup costs to put hotspot, put radios in, put access points in, so they get the coverage, and then program them to use the system, which the system generates the programming for you, as you've seen, right?
Mhm.
And then any updates or maintenance to it is possibly a chargeable item as well. It depends if you want to build that into the cost of the reoccurring subscription for your customer.
Right. Well,
You know.
ways of thinking of how to sell this. So, yeah, say the car dealership has a pipe from someone else. You could go in there and sell them the tech that would act as the hotspot. And then what would you recommend as in, setting up APs in the car dealership? You'd probably want to go with a all microtech solution.
I would probably go with a microtech solution, but you could use Ubiquity. You could use whatever you're comfortable with. That you want to use Ruckus. Again, it's totally up to you. It's totally up to you on how you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just an example. And you still have to have you'll still want a microtech in the back end for the gateway.
Mm-hmm.
But once it's all set up and done, you're done.
Right.
There's really no more data that you need to do.
Mm-hmm. What about so microtech would sell the gateway, the hotspot gateway. What would you suggest if you went with a microtech AP setup?
Well, that really depends on the location. I mean, you could go in a small location. You could go as small as a 2011 and be done with it. Most of what I see, it really depends on the business or the location. We have the HAPs that are coming out, which are dual pole, dual band, that are CAPSMAN ready. Those are definitely a good product. You can use the CAPs, the CAPs, ultra low cost, ultra small APs that you can chain. So the options, there are plenty of options out there. How's that?
Right.
It all comes down to, what are you doing? Are you doing a big building that has 400 condos in it? Or do you have a small hotel or restaurant that, seats 100 and one AP will probably handle?
Right. So me as an ISP, you said $1,300 gets me what I'm seeing on the screen there, plus 5 networks, 5 separate entities, and these separate entities would all have their own login credentials to this to modify and change their own thing at their own will.
If they wanted to, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and if you figure this, I'm just going to go on the cheap side. If you sold 5 people managed services for $50 a month, all right, that adds up to $250 a month. I mean, in 12 months, that's $3,000 of revenue, and you only have $1,300 in the software.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can definitely make some funds, and I wouldn't think $50 would be normal. I think that'd be pretty inexpensive. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just round numbers for figures.
Yeah, I'm just rounding numbers. I mean, it really depends. You have to look at the business. You have to figure out what your cost is, and then it probably will really depend on what do they want to do with it. If it's just a splash page that says "Welcome to Joe's Restaurant," click here to continue to the internet. That's really easy. Okay. And that might be the $50, but maybe you want them to, offer paid internet access. Okay. Well, now we have to have additional setup and all kinds of stuff. Maybe you charge them $250 or $500 to set it all up, and then charge them $100 a month to keep it running.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, it really depends on the business and what their goals are with the system. But whenever we look at the dealership, a dealership, a lot of times the free internet, going back to the social aspect of it, is worth its weight in gold compared to getting paid for internet access.
No, absolutely. I mean, they capture the customer's information. They can reuse that to solicit to them down the road.
Right. Well, and not only that, like I said, the Facebook stuff is really cool, because what happens is that they have a social login, and you can set it in here, wherever the heck I did that, but you can set the social login, and to be honest with you, I have to remember where it's all at, because there's so many options in here. But you have to set it up to where when they log in, what do they do, or what happens? Okay, Because here you go. You can say, hey, with registration with social network, they don't need a login. They just need to connect right in. You can just say they just need to register. So they need to provide various types of pieces of information, name, address, phone number, and then they get a username, password free of charge. Okay. But especially with the social login, you know, what you can set it up with is when they log in, we capture their information from the social site, but we also like your page, so the dealership gets a like. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, we actually post on their page that's viewable to everybody, hey, such and such was at this dealership at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
all of a sudden now that person has just said they're at this dealership on their social page.
And they like it.
And they liked it. So now all their friends are going to say, hey, I seen you were at the dealership last week or yesterday, you know. Probably a bad thing if you want them to you know, if it's a surprise, but you know, you can say the position, I want to do a post, you know, there's all kinds of descriptions here. And by the way, this system, you can also do Google, LinkedIn, and Twitter, or all of them at the same time if you want to. And here's what's really cool. I'm just going to enable these. I'm not going to put any other information in here, right? I'm going to go back to this page and refresh it. Okay, so all I did is enable the Twitter and Google and such. I didn't add extra information. I don't know if I got to check. Well, we're going to see here in a second. But we get the little video ad and we skip it. And look at that. There's your Twitter. Google is already enabled on the page. That is the beautiful thing is everything's maintained in the manager system. So when you make a change within a minute or so, it's already changed on your splash page. You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to know HTML to add those social logins.
Does this, you know how we've stepped through this, I'm just thinking I got a brewery that I serve internet to and their camera system and stuff, and I could see this as being a benefit to them. Is there something online, like a YouTube video showing kind of what you're going through, so I could take it over to the brewery and show them, hey, this is something we could set up for you, and it captures their information while they're here with Facebook.
Yeah, if you
tells people where they're at. Of course, a brewery could get some guys in trouble, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But if you go to the our webpage here, there it is, and it's right here, HS Network Manager, HSNM. Okay. And there's a little video here and everything like that of how it all works, and there's plenty of data in here as well. Okay. Of course, you can contact our sales department and our sales team, and they can help you as well on any other questions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So really, really cool stuff. You know, the reason why Link Technologies kind of got into this one was because we had the exact problem. Most people we find do one of two things whenever they're doing a lot of work with hotspots. One, they go to some website that offers basically free hotspots. Okay. But what they do is for paid hotspots, they get 60% of your revenue. So if it costs you, if it's $10 to get access for a week, they get 60% of that. But they manage the whole back end system, so you don't have to, which makes sense. I mean, it's up to you, but they get a piece of your pie, and a big piece of your pie every time. On the flip side of that, you get these other people that they do a lot of hotspots and they have their own product, but that product is $40,000. You know what I'm saying, to manage, or they put a lot of money into their back end system because that's what they need. They need that huge quality. And what we found is that people want a good product. They don't need this absolutely insane product that costs $40,000 at a reasonable rate, something that is low enough that they don't mind paying up front with no additional service charges going forward, and they get their full revenue. Right.
So a question. So say you set up a pay for internet with a client, and you don't charge them maintenance or anything like that. You set it up, and is there a way to split the revenue through the authorized.net where if you charge $1 60 cents goes to me, the ISP, and 40 cents to the organization?
The answer is through authorized.net. There's not a way. However, with the reporting that you have in this system, you can say, what is my ad revenue for XYZ time frame? Okay. It will tell you that. You can take a screenshot. They can see that. And then, you guys the accounting department would handle that from that point on.
Okay. And you mentioned another thing. Within the splash page, we could run banners of other, like at the car dealership, we could sell banner space to the restaurant.
Yep.
And they could run that banner and say, mention code XYZ and you're coming from the dealership. Then the customer would get a discount, and then the dealership would make the revenue there, and then I charge the dealership a monthly service fee.
Yeah, it's up to you on the contract that you do with the dealership per se. Okay. But the example would be if you say, hey, I'm going to provide bandwidth to the hotspot for free, but I'm going to charge for it. Okay. You can. Or you can sit there and say, I provide bandwidth to you. If you want a free hotspot, I'll let you do that. That's not a problem. But instead of me charging you to put the hotspot splash page, the maintenance for the hotspot on a monthly basis, you need to give me the ability to sell ads on it.
Oh, so you as the ISP keep that ad revenue.
Right. So what would happen is instead of you charging them $50 or $100 to maintain the splash page, to give them all the stats, all that kind of good stuff, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Which they get. Instead of that, maybe you trade that off to say, hey, I think there's advertising revenue here. So do you, and it might be just a question to the company. Do you want me to be able to sell ad revenue or not on it? And if not, then it's $150 maintenance every month to keep it up and running. Or I can take that $150 and I can knock it down to zero, but I get all the ad revenue. Or, some type of ad revenue share, some type of program like that. Now, keep this in mind is that you still have to, someone has to expend time to sell the ads.
Right.
Someone has to do that. So you have to always think about that. But it is definitely a possibility. One of the specific instances I'll give, and I'm not going to say which network it is, but a Muni Wi-Fi network that was put in a downtown area for public internet access. It's free internet for everybody. And this was a good example of how does the city was asked, why are we paying for free internet to these people? Why? And what it came back was, well, we're going to fund it with ads. So what they did is every time you log in, you get this, the splash page that has different ads. They sell ads for all these restaurants and bars and businesses down there. A lot of them have coupons on them. So it says, hey, tell them this number and you can get a maybe not a free drink, but you get a 50% discount off your first drink.
That's where I'm going, Dennis, is how do you make it to where it could be a benefit? And that's interesting that the Muni paid for it with ad revenue.
With ad revenue, yep. Now keep this in mind is that was a decent sized little hotspot network.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 20 something nodes. Okay, in a downtown, very busy area that has lots of foot traffic and lots of restaurants and bars. And the city had a person that they basically hired to go between all the, that person walked up and down for, a month going, hey, we got this ad program, yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? So they actually had a person actively out there trying to sell it.
Yeah. Definitely.
But I'll tell you right now, they made enough money that they've expanded that network twice since then. So obviously it's working.
Right. Well, that turns us ISPs into salespeople or hiring salespeople, huh?
Well, right. And this comes back to that whole aspect of, do you as a WISP want to get into that market, want to get into that business? Mm-hmm. Is as a business owner, you always ask, is my business of selling internet good enough that I don't need to do anything else?
Right. In my case, no, I have to augment because it's pretty stagnant.
Right. So if my business, well, let me phrase it. If my WISP business is busy and I can't do anything extra to make it better. My people are handling things as they should. Do I have enough time to do something else?
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. You know, what do you want to do with that? You know, in those particular instances. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So again, always up to you on how you want to do that. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. You just need to make sure that you have that data, and you know what's going on. It's totally up to you. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that splash page for that dealership, pretty darn cool. Better than just the user manager page with the MikroTik, which is, you know, down and dirty, cut and dry.
Yeah, well, like I said, the big thing that we really liked about this was that the splash page is maintained on the system. So like unlike user manager is just a sign up page and the maintenance page that's on user manager. The splash page is actually maintained on the local MikroTik, whereas this system redirects everybody to the network manager for that data.
Now, you might have mentioned this. What does this reside on? A Windows server that's on your network, or a Linux server? What are the requirements for the software?
It's actually a virtual server. So it is designed we actually sell it two different ways. We actually have a piece of hardware that you can deploy it on. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Little Atom system. That's perfectly fine and dandy. Personally, I wouldn't do it. Personally, I would just drop it on. You can do Hyper-V, VMware, anything like that. And run it into a virtual environment.
Okay.
So the answer to answer your question is you could host it in the cloud if you wanted to. Link Technologies does offer hosting for that. So if you wanted us to host it, that's not a problem. Really, the only extra cost other than the unit is if you want to do paid, you need a PayPal or Authorize.net account. You will probably want to get your secure certificate for it. Okay. So there's a little, $60. I mean, secure certificates aren't expensive, but that's about it. There's
Mm-hmm.
really nothing else. I mean, it doesn't use a lot of bandwidth. It doesn't use a lot of data, not a lot of CPU. So it's relatively stable. It is based on a Linux system as well.
Okay.
But it is, and I want to point this out, it is completely designed to be managed inside this system as a standalone system. So the example is I can go to new version here, and literally what you're seeing is this is how you update it. You don't sit there and go into Linux and hit update. You go here and you hit update now. And are you sure? You say yes. And it downloads it and does all the updates for you. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that is that's really the better way of doing that, or that's how to do that system, so that you don't have to know Linux to do it. The system's set up as what they call a virtual appliance is how it's defined.
Right, but I mean, virtual appliance, would be a box in your network, correct?
It doesn't have to be in your network. It can be posted somewhere. Because keep in mind, you're not moving that much data.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got the splash page. I mean, if all of your customers are on your network, then yeah, it'd probably be better if it's on your network. But it can be hosted with Amazon or some virtual provider as well.
Oh, gotcha.
You know? So
I'm just thinking of my own situation, looking at this going, yeah, I think I could make this work. I just don't want to have to pay any more recurring revenue to anyone. I just want to host it myself and be done with it, you know?
Exactly. And like I said, that's why we sat there in Link Technologies when we went out and looked for a product like this. That's what we really wanted. We wanted something that you could buy and you're done. I mean, if it is one thing though, if you don't have a virtual infrastructure to put it on, then either you're going to have to host it with somebody, okay, or build your own virtual infrastructure. It is what it is, but those are really the only things that you have to do that's extra. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Uh-huh.
So, and most of that hosting, I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, Link Technologies does that for $69 a month. So it's not like it's gonna break the bank either. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to host it regardless. Even if it was a piece of software like a Windows software, you still have to have a Windows server or something to put it on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The only difference is that you can fire up VMware, VM Workstation, or Hyper-V or something like that and run it if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Wow, that's some pretty powerful stuff. I'm sold. I think this show gets me in more trouble than.
Gives you those ideals, but that's the whole point of the show.
Exactly.
You know?
Opening up your eyes to different things that you may not know.
Yeah, exactly.
So the reason why I was late, Dennis, is I had to run to a relay site. And you ever seen where your power gear is submerged in water?
What was this?
My power gear was submerged in water.
That probably don't work very well.
No, it didn't. But
You got any
fortunately, I had
pictures?
in the truck a UPS and POEs and stuff to get it slapped back together to make it work. It's got a little bit more work to do out there to make it
You got any pictures?
good. No,
No, don't want to see that, huh?
it's not a pride thing.
Yeah,
But anyways, I got it running and I hauled butt back here about 25 miles away. But glad I made it back because this show is really good, showing us about what you guys have added. You know, looking out there for not the Cadillac of hotspots, but yet a little bit more interactive with the customers and the people to make it sell. You know, this is something I think I could easily sell to a car dealership that's down the road or the brewery who I supply internet to already.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I had a quick question for you. How your towers? You have like 30-foot towers on top of mountains, don't you?
Yeah, 20, 30 foot, and on non-pins with 6-foot conduits on top of people's high roofs.
20 foot. So check out. This is a picture from one of our towers.
Oh, geez, how high?
Yeah. And this is not a big tower. Well, let me phrase this. We're only 400 foot up on this one.
That's still taller than anything that I've got.
Yeah, and but it's a 1,400 foot tower.
Mm.
It's a big sucker, and like I said, this is the view just from 400 foot. You can see we have a few trees.
Oh, geez, yeah,
just
no,
a few trees.
That's painful.
There. Right.
See, out here, I don't really have any trees. It's open, wide expanse desert.
We call those scrubs. You got scrubs. You don't have bushes. They're scrubs.
Yeah. But well, even though my 120 foot tower up on the crest, which is a 10,000 foot mountain, it's nice to get up on, but still kind of hairy because I'm not a certified tower climber or nothing. But at 10,000 feet, you add another 120, you're every bit as high as your.
Yep, I understand. I just figured I'd give you some of those pictures because we had taken some of those like a couple days ago. So
that wasn't you up there taking the pictures, was it?
No, I don't do those climbing things anymore.
So you've done them before?
Yeah, I've been up on that one. It's up there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, any news that I should be aware of, or as you saw, I was trying to get some of the guys from the board that just got recently elected to come on the show. And any other news that I should be aware of?
No. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Obviously, the new board actually gets installed this week. What is it? Tomorrow, actually. So that's always good. We have our outgoing board members, a little new blood. A lot of these guys they're veterans in the industry, so that's always a good thing. And lots of good information. It's really good to see new people interested and people interested in helping out the industry because that's always what it's about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and bringing in new people with their different ideas. It's always like I always say, churn on a board is good.
Yeah.
Churn in business is not.
Yeah. So, that's always good. And of course, we got the big show, Wispapalooza, coming up. Form 477 is due by the end of the month. Make sure you get that done. Those are really the big things. We did have some news this morning. I talked about the TV white space rule order came out. Looks like we got some channel bonding. I think it looks like we got some higher power, but there's not a whole lot out there yet because it literally just came out this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have tons and tons and tons of data on it yet.
Right.
But I'm sure we will in a day or two. I'm sure there'll be a report from the FCC committee to the board, not to the board, but to the members of WISPA that will get that information. So again, if you're not a member of WISPA, that's a really good reason to be a member, is to get that information on a consistent basis.
Exactly.
So, but with that said, that's all I have for the day.
Well, right on, Dennis. Thanks for putting on the show and showing us the new hotspot technology you got with that's the HS system, right?
Yeah, the HS Network Manager. So
Yeah,
Hotspot
that's
Network
really
Manager,
cool. I'll
thank you
probably
for
be
that,
talking to you a little bit about that and see if I can go drum up some support for it.
Yeah.
Well, with that, let's wrap up the show, Dennis. Thanks a lot again, and we will talk to you guys next week. Have a great one.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.